Hi guys, welcome back to Inside the Paiges podcast. And today on episode 2, I'm super excited to have my first guest. And today we have Lucy Procter, a HYROX world champion and an absolute all-round machine. I'm so excited to talk to Lucy today about her upbringing and how she's got into the HYROX world and where she is today being a professional athlete. So let's deep dive into the episode. Thank you so much for coming on, by the way.
Thank you for having me.
I will quickly introduce Lucy if anyone doesn't know who Lucy is, but recently massive within the HYROX world. I was going to ask you to introduce yourself, and then I thought that is actually kind of awkward because I hate going on like someone's podcast or whatever and then just talking about yourself is very... Do you find it like...
It's hard. I hate it when people are like, give me a fun fact, and I'm like...
You feel like you're at a job interview.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't know how to give a fun fact. What constitutes fun?
You're like pitching yourself. Pitch myself. So I'll kind of introduce Lucy for you guys. Lucy is actually a recent Red Bull HYROX athlete, which is super exciting. Literally been like maybe 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah, it's been like a month and a half.
Amazing.
My contract started at the start of January, so yeah.
And like this is just kind of fitting that we're here at the Red Bull studios today. It's just a coincidence. Congrats on the Red Bull signing. Lucy is a new HYROX Elite 15 athlete, qualified at the age of 20.
Yeah.
For your first ever Elite 15 race, which is absolutely insane. Recently competed in your Las Vegas race.
Yeah.
And got your championships. Spot for
Yeah.
Chicago in this year's HYROX championship.
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
So exciting. Honestly, like obviously to go out there, I've never been to the States before. So let alone let alone going to all the way over there, 8 hours time difference. Yeah. And obviously, like, I went there and the goal was to qualify, but I was like, I don't know about this one. I just want to have fun and not put too much pressure on myself.
Yeah, when you're like jet lagged.
Yeah. Oh my god, I just didn't. I had no idea of the effect that jet lag would have. Crazy.
We'll talk a lot about your race as well, and just like because obviously it's so current. We'll have a chat about how your race went because I watched it and it was amazing. Like an amazing race, amazing performance. Like it was insane.
Thank you.
We'll talk more about your Chicago race for sure. Lucy is like amazing, like such a young athlete, and you're making massive moves, which is insane.
Thank you.
That is me, I'm so embarrassed. Anyway, I'm gonna ask a few questions if you don't mind.
Hit me.
Yeah, so about like how you got into the sport is like my main question, to be honest. I don't know much about your upbringing and background, so it'd be super interesting to find out how you actually got into sporting in the elite category now. How did that begin and how were you thrown into sport?
I mean, I guess I've played sport my whole life in some capacity. I was really like outdoorsy as a kid. Like you'd always find me in the garden, climbing trees and stuff, running around. And there are so many pictures of me. There's a picture I found recently for something else, and it's literally me like sat with a plastic cricket bat, and I'm like 3 or 4 years old. Like, I've always been around sport. I think that's kind of been like different levels throughout like my childhood, I guess. My parents tried to put me in different sports and see what I enjoyed, but they never put pressure on me. Yeah. Like, I tried loads and loads of different things as I was growing up, but if I ever wanted to quit something, they were very, like, okay, fine then. Like, if it doesn't make you happy, whatever. Because
normally you find, like, especially, like, athletes and stuff, like, their parents are like, you know, say a swimmer, like you're swimming every night, every night of this week, and weekends you're at galas, you know? Like,
yeah, I mean, swimming's the thing I did. I did do it. I mean, I was quite young. I think probably quit when I was like 10. But again, it got to the stage where it was like, either you go to start doing the early mornings and the late nights, or you don't really carry on. Yeah. And you're either I was kind of just like, you know, it's not the kind of, don't love it. And obviously at 10 you don't really know, but it's just like, Mum, I'm not getting up at 5 o'clock. So, but my brother was a tennis player, and he also quit when he was sort of like 12. It was quite a long story, but anyway, he's now got back into it, and he's playing at like a uni level, and wishes he hadn't quit anyway. But my mum was just like, you know, she could see how miserable he was, and he just wasn't enjoying it, wasn't loving it, and she was never going to force him into that. So she's always taken that stance of like, if you don't love it, if you're not enjoying it, then, you know. Because
also for our parents, like, it's a bit of a waste of money if they're like
exactly
lessons and stuff,
and all the time as well, like driving around all the tournaments, all the swimming galas,
they're
everything.
The ones up at 5 a.m.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, they're coming with
so
you.
if they're like, fine, you don't want to do it, fine then.
I get an extra 2 hours in bed. Sport is so expensive at a young age.
Like, I was really lucky that I got to play loads of sport in school. Like, there would always be a sport, whether that was like hockey, netball, cricket, rounders, like all of these sports, you know.
Playing all the time.
But I was never like amazing. Like, I was never the best. I wasn't ever really in the top teams. Had such a streak of just like, I was always at the top of the B team. I never quite got in, and I was like,
I was always the last to be picked.
That was me for a phase. That was honestly the scariest thing.
Literally. That's so funny because I went to a sports college and I was the one to like skip PE.
Same. I swear
got
that's
my
all of
kit.
us now. Literally all of us that are like into fitness and like pro
Yeah.
athletes. We're all the ones that skip PE at school.
Yeah.
That was always me. It was
Literally.
like, oh, I've got my period again for the third
Yeah.
time in a month.
Yeah.
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 Haven't got my shoes.
Yeah, I was school at a swimming pool, and that was always like, I'm not swimming ever.
Yeah, twisted my ankle.
Yeah.
Head hurts. Can't do it.
No, literally, how many excuses can you make?
So, yeah, it was literally me. But yeah, then I think I kind of found running, like in my mid-teens, and
Oh, wow,
then
so like 15, 16.
yeah, quite late as far as runners go.
Wow.
And I remember my first. I think I actually went and did cross country at school because I didn't like netball, and so I had a few friends that were in the same position. They were like, "Look, we're just gonna do cross country. Like, apparently you don't have to run that much. You know, you just go and you run for half an hour, then you leave, and then you can go and have a free time."
So you like that?
So I was like, yeah, okay, great, sounds good. Don't have to be hanging around on a netball court in the cold for like 2 hours.
yeah.
So went, and I remember my first session, and it was like, I can't even explain how bad it was. Like, I couldn't even run a mile. Like, I was gasping for air, I was dying, I thought I was gonna be sick.
I mean, we all start somewhere, hey?
Exactly. So this is, you know, a reminder that you can actually, you know, make some good progress, because I have not always been able to run.
Yeah, and that's why you were running fast, because you're like, right, if I run fast now, I then get to leave this class.
Exactly. So I absolutely sent it and found that very quickly that was
That's
not
so
sustainable. But I learnt my lesson, and slowly I got better. And then we had COVID and we went into lockdown, and obviously there wasn't really much else you could do apart from be at home and do training. And so in lockdown, I literally went from like running 5Ks at a push in like just over half an hour or something.
In lockdown?
Yep, ran my first 10K. Like, remember doing that. It took about an hour. I think I was on a treadmill.
I must have ran in lockdown. I should have been doing this.
Yeah, but that was all I did. And I was running, and then I was on Zwift, and I was running on Zwift. And then out of lockdown, I broke 20 minutes. Literally.
What, 5K?
Yeah, so go into lockdown, like, not being able to run 5K, come out
That
of
is
lockdown,
mad.
break 20 minutes.
And you were probably like, actually, I'm pretty fucking good at this.
Yeah, I was. And I went back to school, and I was like, look at me now, cross country, I can do this.
As if. And did you go back to school then after lockdown?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
And, like, you went back to cross country and you're like...
Yeah,
Guys.
So in my first year at that school, I came literally pretty much dead last in like the house cross country competition.
Yeah.
Last year I came back and I won
Oh my goodness.
by like a big margin, and I was like, have that.
How old were you then? 16, 17?
So last year of school, I would have been like, yeah, the start of the year, 17.
17.
Yeah.
That is insane.
So.
But that is it, like, me thinking actually COVID was only like 2 years ago. It wasn't actually, really, was it? It was maybe like, 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Now.
So that was like the end of school for me, which is a weird time.
Still though, to become, from then to becoming an elite, 4
Yeah.
or 5 years is insane.
Yeah, I mean, I at that point I joined the club for like running, and the cross country teacher, like guy in charge of it at the school I was at, was like probably the best teacher. Honestly, was really like encouraging. He would take me, bearing in mind it was a boarding school, so
Yeah.
like it was a real struggle to get out of school. You didn't have your parents around to take you places. He would get the school car and drive me from the school to the running club every Tuesday and every Thursday, like without fail, literally
No
for like
way.
2 years.
That is so
Either
nice.
him or his wife. And literally in his free time, that enabled me to go to the club, start doing some proper training, trained
Yeah.
around obviously people that were better than me, and that's how I got better. And then
That's
all of a
it.
sudden I'm competing, doing track races, cross country. Again, was never like the best of the best of the best. Like I would like at best come top 50 at nationals.
And this is all just because you were like in COVID.
I loved it.
I'll just go on Swift and I'll just start running
Yeah.
a little bit.
I
and then
really loved it.
all of a sudden in a year's time you're literally like
I got addicted.
yeah, in all these races.
Yeah. And
That's
then
insane.
so this was just track cross country. Then I kind of left school, came back to London, and I went to uni, and it just wasn't the right time for me. Like really struggled.
Yeah.
Just not sure if it was like not the right course. My mental health wasn't in a great place at the time. Still running,
What
definitely
did you go to uni to study?
accounting and finance.
No way.
Yeah, I know.
That's
Just was
good.
not the right course.
Yeah. And
Not at all.
was that a uni in London?
Loughborough.
Loughborough.
So
That's a sport uni.
yeah, I
no?
know. So I went like low key for the sport.
Yeah. To accounting and finance.
Yeah, exactly. But I was like, I can have best of both, and it just was not right for me at the time. I struggled a lot, so I left like really quickly, and I was like, what on earth am I actually going to do now? Like,
That's crazy,
like
'cause,
really,
like,
what am I going to do?
It kind of clicks though that like.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like you went to do accounting and finance at a sports uni.
Yeah.
And like it kind of clicked that like
Yeah.
I don't want to do this.
At this point, I'm like, I
sport
actually do want to do
is-
sport.
Yeah.
Like, I never even considered that might be a possibility. Even through like the end of school, I'm not doing sport. Like, I'm like, I love running, but I'm not making a career out of it. I'm just like, there's no way, like, I'm not good enough.
Well, you probably kind of needed that to go to uni and to realise.
Yeah.
You know, like, we kind of need
exactly.
points where we actually are, we're actually like, no, this is not making me happy anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I actually do want to do this. Whereas if you would have jumped straight into it, you might have then questioned it a bit more than what you ever had.
That, like, for me, that was such a rogue decision. Like, to leave uni, it was, like, ridiculous. That was, like, in kind of my eyes at the time, probably my parents' eyes too. That was, like, worst case scenario. It was like, what are you doing?
What did your parents say? Did they ever question anything, or were they just like...
They were like, what are you going to do? You're leaving uni, fine, but where are you going to go from here?
Yeah.
Like, you need to have a direction.
Did you move back home then?
So I moved back home, and I was like, okay, I'll do a PT course, fine. So then that's how I'll go into sport.
Oh, wow.
And at this point, I've started doing, like, some functional fitness classes, like, in the London scene. Obviously, it's really good. There's all kinds of group classes and stuff you can do. So I'm just doing those, and that's the only weights I'm lifting. Probably can't hit depth in a squat. Have no idea how to lift a barbell.
Yeah.
Like, just doing my HIIT classes. And then...
that's where I met you, you know?
Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah.
I met Lucy back in, well, actually, when was it? Because I moved to London maybe just over nearly 4 years ago. So it would be nearly 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
When you were, like, at Robots.
Yeah. So that would have been, like, just after I left uni.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where I met Lucy. She was absolutely a machine in the class, to be honest. You were a machine.
I got very good at the class, but not much else.
That's why Rowan. Yeah, that's where I first came across you.
Yeah,
I was like, you're an animal. You could be. You are strong.
And then someone at Robots came up to me and actually was like, "Do you know what HYROX is? I think you'd be really good at it." And I'm like, "What is that? What is this ridiculous idea?"
To be honest, I was thinking like, what? Actually, one question. Actually, I think you also maybe have said this, but when you did then transition from you're going back from COVID and you were, and actually I could take this, I could be really good at this, and then you went back and you did all your cross country, etc. Was there anyone that really inspired you to then go and do that, or was it just kind of self-belief within yourself?
I don't know if anyone specifically in the HYROX scene at that time inspired me, because it was so new.
Yeah.
So I wasn't like, oh, look at these Elite 15 athletes. I barely even knew what the Elite 15 was. I was kind of sort of aware. Mm-hmm. But again, like, I still wasn't considering it could be my job at this point. First HYROX I did, I was like, wow, this is sick. Like, I want to do more of this and less of just the running on its own. I think coming out of uni, and at that time, I was just really struggling in lots of ways. I didn't really know who I was, didn't really have a direction, definitely struggling with disordered eating. Really just had a bad relationship with myself.
Yeah.
Just lacked confidence because I didn't know what I wanted, where I wanted to go. And all of a sudden, I'm like, you've got all these people. If you look at the start pen at HYROX in your wave, everyone's different ages, everyone's different shapes and sizes, everyone's got different reasons. Yeah. Pretty much the same if you stood on the start line of the London Marathon. And you're like, wow, all of these people are completely different and they're doing the same thing. Like, they're achieving the same goal. And I was like, this is great because I don't have to stand on the start line of a cross-country race anymore and look to the left and right and worry that I'm not the smallest girl there. Comparing myself to people that are ultimately, like, all in the same basket. Like, you are all, like, an 18-year-old girl just doing running. Probably trying to be the smallest version of yourself.
Yeah, so there is... Would you say it was a bit more, of course, like, when you're 18, you struggling with food and struggling with, like, the exercise side of things, like, if you would have gone into running, do you think that would have stemmed more? Like, HYROX has actually opened up your eyes.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
You've grown into the sport and you've adapted with the sport and been a bit more, oh no, it's your own race. We're all doing the same race, but this is your own race. Whereas, like, running, like you said, you go to a cross country
That is exactly
race.
what happens. Like, especially at the time when I was at the start of uni, I hate to think what would have happened if I'd have continued on that path. I really, really do. Because all of a sudden I'm like, I actually don't need the pressure of being the smallest version of myself, and that being my only, if I reach that goal, I will be faster. Because that was my mindset at the time. It was like, I need to lose weight because I'll be faster, which is so incredibly wrong, as we know. But obviously the thing with HYROX is, like, I did that first race and I was like, great, I ran really fast and I had the best run total out of everyone there, but my stations were terrible. I took 8 minutes to do the sled pull.
I mean, still a very strong race.
I know. I guess everything's kind of, obviously compared to now, I'm like, that was terrible.
Looking back.
But, it's all relative.
Yeah. Exactly.
At the time, like, I've obviously still got the videos. Now, from time to time, I look back at them and I'm like, see how far you've come. But it's so funny. It's so funny.
So when you were talking about Robots and someone said about HYROX, did they say, like, oh, you should go for this race, or were they like, oh, like, I'm gonna do HYROX, you should do it too, kind of thing? How did HYROX ever come across?
They were kind of just like, I think you'd be good at it. You're a runner and you're decently strong. Why not?
Yeah. And at that time when you'd left uni and you were starting doing all the classes in gym and stuff, were you just, like, running alongside of that?
Yeah.
Were you just doing, like, long runs?
Yeah.
Some,
I was basically doing my running program plus classes.
So you were just running outside of those classes and just keeping on top of your running and things.
Yeah, I would still actually travel down to like my training group in Canterbury. Most weeks I would travel there, sometimes twice a week. Literally get the train in, train and get the train home. Like, I was doing a lot.
But you had the time to.
Yeah, exactly. And it was my outlet because obviously I was just like, I don't know what I want to do. I don't know where I want to be. Just considering what I wanted my career to be. And it was obviously an escape. So.
And so let's go to your first race, your first HYROX race. What date was that?
That was Glasgow 2 years ago.
No, what, 2 years?
Yeah.
2 years ago. And she sat here in Elite 15, the World Championship. That is insane.
Yeah, that was Glasgow 2 years ago. So Glasgow coming up is going to be like a full circle moment, which is why I was so excited for it.
Tears. There's going to be tears. And that was open solo?
Yeah.
You jumped straight into solo?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Incredible. And how long did that take you? Your first ever solo?
I think it was an hour and 6 something, but if you now look at the times, it will say an hour and 8 something because they've all adjusted them for like the wall balls from going from 75 to 100. Because I looked at it recently and I was like, no way did I run a 108. I was looking back at all my like Instagram stories and stuff at the time, and I was like, I swear it was a 106, but they just adjusted it.
That is still a really good. That would still maybe get you podium.
Yeah, it got me second at the time. There was a girl who doesn't do HYROX anymore, but she beat me by a little bit. But we were first and second on the 24 and first and second overall. So,
how old were you then? Was that 17 or 18?
19.
19?
Yeah, just.
And then, what was your race where you first qualified for Elite 15? What was your race?
Well, that first race ever, I qualified for World Champs, which was in Manchester.
Yes.
But that was just age group. And then last season, same story, qualified, like pretty much re-qualified every single race for that. And obviously, I had my eyes on the Elite 15, but last season I was just like, it's too early, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And then obviously they changed the system this season for it to be the average of the 2 times.
Yeah.
And I didn't know how I felt about that at first. I was just like, oh god, now I want to do it twice.
Yeah, you have to do 2 races to now get into the Elite 15.
But after that,
races.
So after that performance at World Champs, it was 104.46, I believe. And that was my goal for last season, just to win the AG World Champs. And obviously I did. But I was like, that could get me in, this could do it. And then all of a sudden, this season started and everyone was like, in and so fast. Like,
the sport is getting so competitive.
The standard just went up a level at the start of the season.
The competitiveness.
Yeah. Like if you look at the averages for the Elite 15 now, you need a sub 103 average.
Yeah. So funny because before you came on the podcast, so I was doing a bit of research, right, about HYROX and the sport and just how it's evolved. So HYROX actually, the first HYROX race was founded in like 2017 in Germany. Yeah. And so I was looking at like the Elite 15 is something quite new. Like there was an Elite 12.
Yeah, it used to be the Elite 12, yeah.
And then like the actual whole like, you know, Elite 15 doing their own race and things like that is fairly new in the past like maybe two seasons or so.
I think so.
Seasons, maybe?
Yeah, it's always like the Elite's always been a concept that's been around and they've been refining it, changing the system to how you get in, then changing the system for how you get into Worlds. Like it used to just be, I think, whoever set the 15 fastest times at the cutoff for World Champs would then do the World Champs major as well. Whereas now you have to do a major and then qualify again. Like you have to get into the majors and then you have to get into the Worlds E15 from the major.
It's literally evolving so much. And like looking at like the championships of those races, like when it first ever started, the men's pro were like their good times were like an hour, and we're now talking like 52 minutes.
Yeah, for
52 minutes for like men's pro.
Yeah,
which is insane. But also it just shows that how many people are finding the sport.
Yeah,
as well. Like, you know, someone like you didn't know you'd be really good at this sport.
Yeah, like all of a sudden I'm just really good at a sport.
Yeah.
Obviously, like I said, I've been mediocre at sports my whole life. E-team for all my sports, you know, average at best club runner. Then all of a sudden I'm just really good.
How
like
amazing that you've actually
out
found
of nowhere.
Something
Yeah.
that you're like,
exactly,
wow,
and that's why
really
that's why I was like, this is it. I'm gonna make this my job.
Grab it with both hands.
Yeah. And everyone's like, what do you mean you're gonna make it your job? And I'm like, I'm going to make it my job.
I'm gonna make sure. I just can't believe how much the sport's evolved. And we're now getting to a point where races, we're now talking seconds.
Yeah.
Like of taking time off. Whereas like, you know, someone's taken 8 minutes off the first ever race. We're now talking like seconds.
Yeah, it is.
Like it's getting time.
I'm like, how can I get 30 seconds off my time?
Yeah.
It's like run like 2 seconds faster.
I mean, it's now like marathons, right?
Yeah.
Like we've got world record marathons and times and things, which don't even get beaten every year.
Yeah, exactly.
Yet still, you know, 50,000 people take place in the marathon. And now HYROX, what me and Lucy were literally talking about. Getting a HYROX London ticket was like getting Beyonce tickets, right? You are in the queue. Like I remember seeing someone had posted on the Facebook page. They were like maybe like 20,000 in the queue. Yeah. Which is
people kicked off.
Insane.
People kicked off. It's so funny. And I mean, I don't know how many tickets they have available, but it is, you know, they balloted it and then people kicked off about that, and then they went back to the queue system. People have kicked off about that.
Yeah. I mean, the queue system is probably just the fairest way now.
Yeah, I think so.
Because I don't think, like, a ballot is obviously like how a marathon works, actually. But
I mean, if you wanted a ticket bad enough, there are so many ways in. You can join an affiliate gym, you can volunteer.
Yeah.
You know, obviously, I sit here
become
saying
elite.
this, but yeah, I sit here saying this, being like,
say?
you know, you could just make it your job. You can't just do that. Obviously, it takes a lot of hard work. But you know, there are lots of ways in.
Yeah.
But
become a content creator. Work with affiliate brands.
Just casually have like 100k on Instagram.
So, talking about like your career, and obviously it's still very rarely new, right? Going into this big career. Has there ever been a moment, and I know you've only been doing the sport for a few years, but has there ever been a moment where you have questioned it, or not ever doubted quitting, but ever doubted being, is this the sport for me? Have you ever done that because it's so new to you?
I don't think I've ever doubted whether it's the right sport, just because all of a sudden I'm like, wow, I'm really good at this thing. Yeah. I do have days where I'm like, what ultimately is the goal here? And I'm like, I think I try and compare it. So if I was in an office, obviously my office is the gym. Yeah. Which is great. I love it. I'm so lucky. But
she literally ran in here like, sorry, I've just come from the gym.
But, you know, you're not going to feel filled with purpose every day when you go into the office.
Yeah, of course.
You know, you're going to have days where you're just like, God, I want to change job, or like, I don't, don't want to work for this company anymore, or whatever. I have days where I'm just like, God, I'm running again. Like, all I do is run and lift weights.
Hitting the same splits as yesterday.
Yeah. But then you look back and you're like, no, over the last few months I've made some serious progress.
It really is now about like chipping away, isn't it?
But it is really rare that I have days like that. I think most days I wake up and I feel like I've got a purpose. I feel... you know, like I'm working towards a goal, which obviously I am. There's always a race in the calendar, which is great. And I guess races for me are like work deadlines.
Of course, yeah.
But you do have races where you're like, you know, and not every race goes well. And obviously that's, you know, it's part of being an athlete, and it's just part of, even if you're not a professional athlete, it's just part of doing a sport. And I've had races where, like, on paper, I have a really good result. Like, take Poland last year, actually exactly a year since that race now. I think it was, the same race as coming around this weekend. Mm-hmm. And on paper, the result was great. It was a big PB. I got my first overall pro win. The race in practice was mentally probably the hardest race still ever in my career. And it was terrible. Like, I wanted to quit so badly after the sled push. And I'd never experienced that before. Where, I mean, I've experienced it more now. But it was the first time ever I was in a race and not everything went perfectly well. And my mind went...
Your mindset was just...
like, all or nothing. Yeah. And I went... okay, that went wrong, need to sack off the whole race. And obviously, as we know, all or nothing is never a good mindset to have, whatever that applies to. It's, you know, like popping one tyre and slashing the others in your car. It's a very common, like, saying. But I had exactly the same thought in the race. Like, the sled push felt really, really heavy. My legs felt awful afterwards. And I went, well, that's the component of the race that's, like, you know, it's so early on, I've already messed up. Can't get a PB. And I pushed on and I pushed on and I pushed on. And I got the PB. And I've never felt so spent at the end. I have recently. Vegas was... that was an all-out. But at the time, I was like, oh my God. Like, I felt so rough after that race.
The legs.
That was a real moment for me where I was like, God, like, why am I putting myself through this? And I think off the back of that race, I actually quit my job. That was when I quit my job.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So after the race?
Yeah. I quit my office job at the time. And that was the point at which I was like, okay, if I want to be serious about this sport, there was like 3 months till World Champs. Yeah. And I was like, if I want to be serious about this, 1, I need to win the AG World title. And 2, to do that, I need to take it seriously. Like, seriously. I was like, that means everything.
First thing, quit the job.
Yeah. Genuinely, I was like, I can't recover.
No, you can't.
I wasn't miserable in the job. It was a great job. But I was so burnt out. And I think that's what I realised that weekend. I just felt like I went into it, and my mentality going into the race was just worst case scenario. I remember the night before, lying in my bed, thinking... you know, what excuse can I make on my Instagram caption if I DNF this race tomorrow? Like, genuinely, I was like, what is my caption going to be when this doesn't go well? Because I was so sure that it was going to be a bad race. Because I was so exhausted.
About your Instagram caption.
Yeah, I was like, how am I going to tell everyone?
How do I tell everyone?
That I failed. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, it hasn't even happened yet. You haven't even stood on that start line. How are you determining the result of your race when you haven't even stood on the start line?
And do you find, like, I always say, out of your mind into your body. If you are going into a race with a really bad mindset, it's going to be a bad race.
Yeah.
Do you think that's true?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I was stood on that start line and I was so nervous, absolutely bricking it. And I remember someone saying to me, you've got this, today's your day, Luce, you're going to win this one. This
Yeah.
is going to be your overall win.
Yeah.
This is going to be, this is it. And everyone believed in me, and I didn't believe in myself. And I was just stood on that start line going, I already want to quit. Like, I haven't even started the first run.
Yeah.
And I'm not in a good place to be doing this race. And I just remember thinking, this is just not the day for me. And I'm like, how have you decided that for yourself? Like, how have you decided your reality before you even started the race? And that was it. I think it took until about the row for me to realise that it was going to be fine. And I conjured up this, like, false reality. And then, I got to the row, saw the clock, and I was like, what are you doing? You've talked yourself out of the race, and now you need to actually push because you're actually going to do it.
Yeah, you're already in the race.
Why have I not believed in myself for the last half an hour?
Yeah.
And it's not the last time that's happened. It's happened again. But every time it happens...
Have you learned from it, though?
I think so. I think I learned mentally that checking out before the race is never going to be helpful. But it doesn't mean that it never happens again. Obviously, you're going to question yourself. Like, I think... There have been races this season, Dublin, for example. That was ridiculous. I flew out with 10 hours notice, and...
Yeah, you flew out on the day, no?
Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't even have a ticket at the time, did you? And you were like,
I woke up on the
find
next
me a
morning,
ticket, I'm going to do
and
it tonight.
I literally rang up HYROX. And I know I'm in a very fortunate position. I know I'm in a great position that I've got contacts, and obviously they were aware that I was shooting for the Elite 15, and, were very, very nice to help me out. But I was like, can you get me a ticket? I'm going to catch a flight. And obviously, like, Nat and Britt at HYROX are like, are you sure? Like, what are you doing?
You are currently in England.
Yeah. They were like, aren't you in London?
It's in 10 hours.
Yeah. I was like, look, don't worry about that. Get me a ticket, I'll be there.
Have you already looked at flights?
Yeah, I was there, like, on the phone to them, on the Sky Scanner. Yeah. Like, I'm going. And my mum's like, gotta do what you gotta do, girl. Off you go. You go crush it. I remember catching that flight thinking, what the hell am I doing?
Insane.
What am I doing?
Probably just with a backpack with a pair of shoes.
Yeah, like, I landed in Dublin, and I texted Tom, my boyfriend, who was on a work trip somewhere, so also not in the UK, and I was like, Tom, I've done a thing. And he's like, what? He's like, have you signed up for a marathon? I'm going to, like, if you've signed up for a marathon. And I was like, no, I've flown to another country and I've signed up for another HYROX. And he was like, look, if you're going to do this, you'd better get a good time. Like,
you better.
It's better be worth it, because you've raced multiple times in the last few weeks and this is not sensible. And I, again, had this weird, delirious mindset, like I did when I quit my job. I was like, this is just the day for it.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, this is the day where I'm going to do it.
And those days you got to grab with both hands.
Like, even in the warm area.
Now I'm gonna go
in the warm area, I was fired up. I was like, today I'm going to crush it. Like, I'm guessing in the Elite 15 today.
You haven't even had time to think about the race, which is great.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you don't need to dwell on it.
Yeah, I had no time to think about it. I was just going.
Yeah.
But then again, I was on the start line and I was like, oh my god. I was I've almost blacked out for the whole day, and now I'm actually in the HYROX start pen, about to go.
I know you've done how many races have you done now? Like, including doubles?
God, I must be at like 15.
Fucking hell.
Something like that.
But like, do you still stand on that start line and like, you actually forget just how much pain you're in during the race?
Yeah, I think.
Or do you like go into the race knowing? Because I sometimes set off and I think, oh fuck, I've got an hour of really hard work here.
I do think that sometimes, but then other times I'm like, right, this is it. Like, you train for this.
Yeah.
You know, you've done some hard sessions, but this is your max effort. This is where you prove that all of the hours that you do are worth it.
It never gets easier. No. You just push harder.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't. And Vegas was hard, obviously.
Yeah. Sometimes I actually think I'd probably rather run a marathon.
Really?
Do you know what I mean? Like,
I've never run a marathon, so I would not know.
Have you not?
No.
Any in the pipeline?
Not soon. One day, and I'll do an Ironman and I'll do all these things one day. But one day, like, I need to. Whilst I've got speed in my legs,
yeah,
keep
of course.
it.
Yeah. And especially you've got like World Champs around the corner, into the Elite 15.
There's always that thing, and I think like every summer things like Races and Stones roll around as well, and I'm like, I want to do it. I want to go and run 100k.
Yeah.
Because I can in my off season. I'm like, you can.
Yeah.
But it's not worth it.
And what in your off season is that from like what summertime to early winter?
So June is World Champs.
Yeah.
And this year is like smack in the middle of June. So from there until like the middle to the end of July, I'll be training, but it'll be a bit more relaxed.
Yeah.
I'll just be doing loads of like base volume and stuff.
Yeah.
And that's the month of the year where I can just be a bit more relaxed. Like, if I feel a bit mentally burnt out, sessions don't need to happen. If I want to go and be out a little bit later or whatever, like, I don't really tend to drink, but if I want to, that's really the month for it in the year.
It's your birthday?
December. I know. But yeah, being a bit more relaxed in terms of all the things that you kind of say no to and sacrifice as an athlete, that is the 1 month where I'm kind of more a bit chill about it. And then as we move into like August, that's when I start building again. August, September, most of October, and then start the season sort of end of October.
Is there a certain race that starts your season?
No, not really. I think it just depends on the calendar.
Yeah.
Like this year it was Poznan, which was the start of November. But if I was in the Elite 15, it would have been a few weeks earlier in Amsterdam. But I did not qualify.
Yeah.
So
your racing season starts like just before Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then this season, well, like last year, I guess, I just raced because I was like, I need to qualify.
Yeah.
So then through November, December, I just go bang, 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 bang. And obviously I did it, but I wouldn't recommend it.
And I suppose for you, your calendar is, you've got like your, I suppose like the A races that you know about.
Yeah.
And then like Dublin. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, and then things are going to come up and prop up where you're like, actually, I'm going to do this race in,
exactly.
4 weeks' time.
Usually I'm pretty calculated. Yeah. And like Meg a lot of the time will veto things and be like, Lucy, no. Like, especially if I come to her and I'm like, I really want to do this like fun doubles with someone. She's like, you can do a doubles.
Yeah.
The day after you do a solos.
What's how many races have you done in one weekend before?
2. Yeah.
And in Las Vegas, we're going to talk about Las Vegas in a minute. But in Las Vegas, didn't you do the race and then you did a doubles the day after?
Yeah.
Insane. Did you not like beat a world record?
Yeah, we did. That was, again, it was hard because so after the Vegas race, I got drug tested.
Yeah.
And you basically get told.
Good. Like, yeah, not a chance to be that good. Not on anything.
Basically, you get told on the finish line, like, you're being drug tested, this is your chaperone, you have to stay with them.
How many get drug tested?
5.
So is it the top 5?
No, it's random.
Really?
Yeah.
Like if you've like all of a sudden come to the scene really good, like Lucy. They're like, nah, come here.
It's completely random. Although the 3 of us that qualified for Chicago all got tested.
Is it like Scary Police? Who does it?
So you get a chaperone, who is literally just like a person who's assigned that you have to stay with. And if you don't stay with them, then they assume you'll test positive. So you have to stay with them. I personally got taken off to be interviewed. So they basically chaperone you there. And then you basically get taken off to a room at the back. And you then stay there until you can make a sample, which is like, you have to pee.
Is it urine? Yeah.
So yeah, that took a while, and I was honestly the most gutting thing was I didn't get to watch the men's race in person.
I'm so dehydrated after a race, I can't even imagine weeing.
So yeah, in that room they have Diet Cokes, Red Bulls, and water, and they're basically like, drink up. So that's what we all do, and we all just sat there drinking Cokes at like whatever it is, like 8 o'clock at night at this point, trying to stream the men's race on our phones, gutted that we don't actually get to watch that in person.
Of course. Yeah.
So yeah, I finished the drug test at like 9:15.
Yeah.
It got to like 9 and I was like, do you know what, this is ridiculous. I'm going to just go and try and make this sample.
Yeah.
So you go through the whole process, and obviously it's really strict and you've got to make sure you don't contaminate anything, and you have someone there like walking you through the whole thing.
Yeah.
So I did
not
that.
What you need after like having such a successful race. You're like such on a high.
It really brings you down.
Being drug tested. Come on.
And obviously, even though I'm clean, there is always this panic. You're like, what if I have suddenly been spiked somehow?
It's like walking through the airport security.
Yeah.
Like that
is exactly the vibe.
Scary.
I was so scared.
Yeah.
Like for the next week after, literally, because I was like, if I'm gonna hear anything that anything's happened or I need to, pick anything up.
Is it not instant?
No. Because I've sent it to a lab.
Yeah.
I was like, I'll know within a week if whatever. And the thing I was panicking about was when I got to the States, I went to like Walgreens to get some sleep aids.
Yeah.
Because obviously the
like
jet lag.
Melatonin.
Yeah, that and like literal sleep aid tablets. And I was like, oh my god, like these are just drugstore like sleep aids, but what if this is actually made my drug test positive? Like, can you imagine?
Like rescue remedies.
Like,
oh my god, I'm trying to calm my anxiety down.
Like, can you imagine you get tested on your debut, you've qualified, and then you become positive because you took a blooming sleep aid from a drugstore? Like, that was, I was envisioning it. I was like, this is it. Like, my career is gonna end.
And also, when I was in America last, I went to a pharmacy just to get paracetamol. They're not called paracetamol. They were like called a different name. I was always picking things up thinking, what if this is not paracetamol?
Yeah.
Like, you could have just picked up anything.
You have to write down on the drug test thing all the things that you have put in your system, supplements, whatever, in the last week. And I'm there
so like creatine.
Yeah. I'm there like listing everything off. I'm like, sleep aid, melatonin. And I'm like, oh my god.
But she's still sat here, a rebel
Everything's fine.
and Elite 15.
Everything is fine.
Just to let you know, she's not. She's
But it's terrifying.
Clear. Yeah.
It is terrifying, even when you know that there is absolutely nothing wrong.
But what if I was asleep last night and someone did something to me?
I'm like, what if I ate some dodgy, like, pork or whatever? Because that has happened. I'm like, what if I am that freak accident?
Yeah.
So anyway, I do the drug test. I leave. It's like 9:15. I've been interviewed again after the drug test because there were some people waiting to do that. And so I get back to the hotel, eat dinner. Obviously, you are wired. And immediately I'm like, I want to watch my race. Show me a live stream.
Oh, really? Do you watch your race back?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really cool to be able to watch yourself race.
And so is that where you kind of see your strong points, your weak points?
Yeah.
Like, where you kind of need to work on
It's really interesting because people are always like, you look so calm and collected on the run. And I'm like, God, really? I'm dying. And I watched it and I'm like, no, I actually do.
Yeah,
like,
you were so like.
Yeah. And I always
you were
am.
game face, like.
And yeah. And I think I don't really show much pain on the run. Like, I look very effortless. I am putting in effort, trust me. I spoke to Hunter afterwards, and he was showing me from the warm area, bless him. And Hunter was like, dude, you need to try harder. Like, you look like you're having a jog. And I'm like, Hunter, I'm just... Do you want to see my heart rate graph?
I am in the bin.
Like,
what was your highest heart rate in that race?
I probably pretty much hit max on the wall balls.
Oh,
Like, I was,
really?
yeah. I think my average was like high 180s.
I'm no athlete, but then wall balls do send my heart rate up.
Yeah.
I remember seeing like 200 and something at one point. I was like, whoa.
Especially knowing that people go unbroken.
Yeah.
And actually only one person did, I think.
Yeah.
But you know that people around you are like probably going to go unbroken. So like, do not drop the ball.
Yeah. Even though your quads are screaming at you.
It does help that you have the screens so you can look left and right and see what people are at.
They had them in Manchester, you know.
Yeah.
For like just normal races.
They're very cool.
So good.
Yeah.
Because like you can see where you're at. I think it's mentally better.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Especially because it's counting up. I always find that counting up helps, not counting down.
Yeah.
Then I had Sika next to me, and basically I knew that if she overtook me, she would qualify and I wouldn't. Basically, she was the one I was racing.
Yeah, because some of them already had their championship spot.
Yeah, exactly. And I was aware of who those were. And 2 came in ahead of me into the wall balls, and that was Kate and Lauren.
Yeah.
But I actually overtook them both in the wall balls, but that doesn't impact anything. They were already qualified.
Yeah.
So I knew I was racing Sika, and I came into the wall balls, and she came in about 23 reps behind me. So I was like, okay, I can afford to break, but try and not break until she does. And she did, and then I was a fair few reps ahead. But then I was struggling a fair bit. So I basically said, right, you can break for 10 of her reps. So I counted for her to do 10 reps and then started again.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's quite tactical.
Because to us, as an audience, like, we'll watch that and we'll just be thinking, oh, she's taking a few seconds.
Yeah.
But like in your head, you're like, no, she's on that amount.
Yeah.
I need to get that place.
And I watched it back and I was like, God, I broke for way too long.
Yeah.
And obviously it didn't impact anything.
Yeah.
So
but in the race, it probably felt like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
You were
yeah.
So
in the race, I'm like, oh my God, like I've gone 70 unbroken, and usually I can go 70-30 quite easily.
You went 70 unbroken?
Yeah.
Insane.
Usually if I'm going to break, I'll break at about 70. Like if I get to 80 and I haven't broken, you can go unbroken.
Because I suppose 30 is a really nice number to do after doing 70.
Exactly.
Like it's less than half.
Yeah, but it feels like 170.
Yeah.
Like, it's ridiculous.
Let's talk through your race. Because it was, how many weeks ago was it now?
3.
Wow. I'd still have DOMs from it.
I feel like I've just about recovered.
Yeah. Are you back fully training?
Yeah. I think coming back was a weird one because you're so like on the high, and obviously I was riding the high as well because I did doubles the next day and we broke the world record and everything.
Yeah.
And I came back and I was like, wow, the time difference hasn't affected me. And to be fair, it didn't that much because I don't think I adjusted very well over there.
Yeah. I don't find it too bad on the way back from America. It's always going out there.
Yeah, going out there was way worse.
You're going back.
Yeah. I just couldn't get out of waking up at like 5 a.m.
Yeah.
I just couldn't. So I came back and I was like, wow, adjusted well onto the time. But I came down from the high of the race and the fatigue hit me.
Yeah.
And it took like 2 weeks to recover. Like only this time last week was I like, I feel normal.
Just like feeling like, what do you experience? Is that like fatigue is in like your body, like a bit of brain fog, like just tired, run down, CNS a bit battered?
Yeah, all of it. Like my heart rate is up on runs and things, even by like 5 beats.
Yeah.
And I don't realise it, but obviously when you're fatigued, especially when you're a training block, like you're not going to express full fitness.
Yeah.
So then I recover, and then my heart rate's 5 beats lower, and I'm like, wow, I'm really fit. And it's like, no, you were fit before, you were just really tired.
Yeah.
So that, but then just mental burnout as well. Don't think that we want to train every day just because we're elite athletes. After a race, the last 2 weeks have been really, really hard to get into training. I have to get Tom to be like, you're going on a run, set the time you're running by. He's like, tell me what time you're leaving by. Yeah. And if I'm like, right, I'm going to start running by 9, it'll be 8:30, and he's like, are you going to be ready in half an hour to start?
Yeah.
Like, are you going to have gone in half an hour? And I'm like...
Which is actually so refreshing to hear.
Yeah.
Some athletes also find it hard to train sometimes.
Yeah, it's really, like, it's so real after a race. It's just like, oh my God.
No,
like, I've just expended everything.
Yeah.
And now I have to go again, to train again, to do that again, to then recover again.
I've done it now. What now?
Yeah. That is it. Like, after every race, it is a bit of like, where do I go from here? Like, every race, you think, I have just peaked. Mm-hmm. Like, especially like Marseille, for example, 101.
Yeah.
I was like, how the hell do I get quicker?
Yeah.
Like, and obviously Vegas was slow.
Fucking hell.
But, you know, if I was to go and race a fast course again, I do think I'd beat that PB. I do think I'm in better shape. And I think the speed at which I was travelling around the course in Vegas was faster than I was in Marseille. It was just a really slow course. But it's still like, how the hell do I beat that?
That is insane. 101.
There is always like, was it a fluke? Like, but it wasn't.
Maybe you should get... Is Marseille on... Like, would you do Marseille again?
Yeah, I think so.
Because guess what? I've booked Berlin because everyone got a really good time last year.
Yeah, that's
so
the thing.
I was like, absolutely.
Yeah, that's the thing that that's happened. But then there have been races that were really fast last season or really slow last season that are the complete opposite this season. So I'll be really interested to see what happens.
I don't know whether you've ever done London Olympia, but
I did it 2 years ago before it was with loads
9
of corners. Yeah.
What's that all about?
It was like a square or rectangle 2 years ago.
I was like, oh, it's such a slow course. I had 10 minutes onto my time. I was like, no, it's just a bad race, Paige.
I've had that.
So Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Talk us through the race. How was it? An absolutely insane race. Oh, first off, absolutely insane. But yeah, talk us through your race, especially where your race strategy and where your strengths lie, where your weaknesses are in the race, and like what you knew you needed to do in that race in Las Vegas to get your spot.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, it's just a sick experience. Being on that start line, having your kit with your name on it and your flag, it's such a proud moment. I don't take any of it for granted. It was honestly the best thing. I think, I have my tactics and I know how I race a race, for a time. And for me, it's a completely new experience racing, actually racing. And I don't think you can compare grid races or Elite 15 races to any other things. People are like, oh, if I'd have raced that race, I would have beaten X, Y, and Z or come in this position. No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't. The grid is really slow.
Yeah.
And I definitely underestimated that. I think coming into the in arch and then into the grid, and then from the in the grid to the lane where you do things takes ages.
The grid is a section where you do the sled pull, the sled push, the burpees.
And the lunges.
Yeah.
Getting into the grid and then out of the grid, bearing in mind you do that for half the race, 4 out of the 8 stations, takes ages.
Yeah. Yeah, see, I always thought, looking at the race, I thought, well, I'd do it quicker if I ran into the same place every time. But actually, no. You're still running in. You've still got that bit to get in. And also, I think the only reason why they do it is so that it can be filmed and so it's easier to see where you all are. And they don't have to have the judges walking around everywhere.
It's spectator friendly and also it's good for us because we have spectators everywhere there cheering you on. It's great.
Yeah.
But I just hate the fact that people try and compare that to normal races.
To a normal race, yeah.
You have to think of these as one-off showcase races, you know? Just like you can't compare, you wouldn't start comparing F1 tracks.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's still a race. You've still got the same station.
And although I don't really believe in sort of fast and slow courses in HYROX, and that you just have to make the best of what you get, because ultimately, it's a shot in the dark. You can't be like, oh, this is going to be a fast course, because they might have changed it from last year or whatever.
Especially if move a station, or if
exactly.
I don't know, the sleds are hard in this course.
I rocked up in Marseille, and I was like, on paper, this doesn't look very quick. It looks like a really long run lap.
101.
And And the same thing with courses, and they were like, oh, this is a massive rock zone. It's like, okay, we'll run faster in the rock zone then.
Yeah. Pick up the speed.
People will jog through there and be like, oh, I use it as recovery. And it's like, well, if it's big and the run course is smaller, what do you expect if you're going to get a slow time?
Yeah.
The two compensate for each other.
Yeah.
And just because you've called it a slow course, because you've jogged the rock zone, when the rock zone is actually bigger and the run course is 970 metres or something.
Yeah.
You know?
She's worked it out. She knows it all.
I think you have to make the best of your situation, you know? And that's definitely what I did in Marseille. But there's just not really a way to do it with the grid.
Yeah.
Because there just is extra distance. Coming in and out of that sled track every time. I worked out, if you think about it, you know when you race a normal HYROX and you come into the in and then into the burpees or into the lunges and you start immediately. You go into the burpees arch and you start burpeeing.
Yeah, they were lying straight there.
Yeah, for the grid you have to go into the grid in, all the way up to the end of the grid.
I didn't even think about that.
All the way back.
Yeah.
Then you do 4 lengths and then you have to run across the grid because you finish where you started and you have to run in your lane. Otherwise, if you cut the corner, that's a penalty or a DQ. But either way, you get penalised. And then you have to run all the way out of the grid and then you leave.
That's for the burpees and for the lunges.
Yeah. So that's why all of us are 2 minutes slower, because that adds a minute for each of those.
Wow.
So that's where the extra time comes from. Because I was looking at my splits going, why the hell are my burpees and lunges terrible and everything else was so good in this race? Why have I not improved that? Because those are some of my best stations. Yeah. Then it occurred to me that that's why. There's that extra time, because the timing chip mat is at the grid in, at the grid out, so that's the extra time, and it gets added to the burpees and lunges, not the rock zone or the run.
I suppose that's also a top tip for anyone also just training for HYROX is always take into account your run in, run out in general.
The rock zone is huge. This has always been a thing, even for 2 years in HYROX, but people have always said don't walk the rock zone, and it is true. You will lose so much time there.
Yeah. I tell you what, my last race, my mouth was so dry.
Oh, this happened to be in
Vegas.
Vegas.
Had to swig some water and just swig it, but spit it out.
Yeah.
I was like, I need to.
Yeah.
Because I was running with the glass, and I was like, chucking it on my face.
That's what
I
happened
was
to me
like,
in Vegas. It
getting
was so
everywhere.
dry, and obviously it's desert, so it's like dry heat.
Yeah.
We all had the same thing, so dehydrated. Like
Yeah.
I had so many electrolytes and so much water and so much Red Bull before the race, and it did nothing.
Yeah.
Like you've got a
Just-
table with water cups, and all of us were struggling to the point where you would never see Elite 15 people stand at the table and drink the drink. You'll always drink it on the fly. People were doing that, like drink a cup and then take a cup, losing time in their race because you just physically couldn't do it because it was so hot and dry.
But it's probably going to cost you more time to not have a drink.
Probably, yeah.
Than to actually just, put up with it, grab a drink.
Yeah.
Because you need it.
I mean, I grabbed it, tried to run with it, and I was just like slam in the mouth, some over the head, and throw the cup.
Yeah.
Like, you got to do what you
Get it
got to do.
down
But,
your
like,
neck,
usually I'll get water once, maybe twice in a race. It was, like, every station.
So, in the race, going into, in a HYROX race in general, and also Las Vegas, where were your strengths and weaknesses within that race? Like, talk station-wise.
I know I'm weak on the ski. Like, I'm 5'3". I'm just not great at skiing. It's something that I'm really trying to work on. I literally skied for an hour this morning.
Yeah. Fucking hell. What, straight?
Yep.
Whoa!
I know.
God, don't you get dizzy?
No.
God, I get a headache.
I think I've got used to it. I keep doing it more and more and more, and it is a really mental task. But I think it's helping. And obviously intervals as well. But yeah, I know I'm weak there, and I had been saying to myself before the race, be prepared to come out the ski last. Like, I'm okay with that. Like, I'm
That's
okay
a great mindset.
coming out last.
It's going in knowing your weaknesses is such a great mindset in the sport.
I was like, I'm not going to throw it away.
Bro, you've got 8 stations. You can't be so strong.
Exactly.
At all 8.
I was like, I'm not going to send it and blow myself up, and I'm not going to throw it away. So I'm okay with that. I came out the ski 14th.
Yeah.
So...
And you went in...
4th.
4th.
And so everyone was like, oh, she's messed up. And I was like, no, I haven't. Because I closed 12 seconds on the next run.
Insane.
And then I just worked through. Like, I know that, like, it's all perceived effort. Like, I know how much is too much. And then, obviously, I got to the row, which was also, like, the row was a bit of a disaster. Did not go well. My legs just had a lot of fatigue. And I couldn't for the life of me row any quicker than 2:15. Luckily, I think a lot of people were in the same position.
Yeah.
Because those sleds were heavy.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I was like, what is going on here?
You would, after the ski, so you say, like, the ski is probably your weakest. After that, you just then kind of, like, claw back that time over the next 7 stations.
Yeah, just chip.
Yeah.
And obviously, luckily, most of it is running. Yeah. And I love chasing people down.
You are a fast runner.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that gives you so much confidence as well. Like, I'd much rather chase people than be chased.
Yeah.
So...
Oh, yeah.
Which is ironic, because every time I've set fast times, obviously I'm leading the race.
You're going to have someone behind you.
Yeah. But I think I cope with it, like, both ways quite well. Like, I've definitely got better at dealing with the pressure. And then working through after the row, it was just like... hold this position. Obviously, you're in the farmer's carry is a very good place to see where you are compared to people. And it was tight. Still really tight.
It's insane because you watch those races and you think, oh, she's winning. And then next minute, like, she could be, like, I don't know, 6, 7 down the
gap
line.
is way smaller than you think.
The gap is way smaller. Don't realise.
Like, for, like, people racing a HYROX, when you're in the sled push and someone's a length ahead of you and you think, oh, they're gone. Yeah. Like, got no hope. They are 10 seconds ahead of you.
Yeah.
Maybe 20.
It looks so far though, doesn't it?
Yeah. Think about it rationally. How quickly can you push a sled 12.5 meters?
Yeah.
Like 20 seconds. They are not that far ahead of you.
Yeah.
You can get that back on the next
run.
run.
And then also you've got so many more stations to go.
Exactly.
Like, you could be a faster runner. I think that's what I love about the sport. Is like, it is so...
Everyone's got their own strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah.
Like, you watch that race back. Like, watch Linda. What a move on the pull.
Yeah.
Like, she came in almost last, and she just overtook everyone and just left. Like, I was not aware she was, like, in 3rd or 2nd until the row.
Insane.
I think 3rd, because, Joe and Lauren Weeks were pretty decisively 1st and 2nd.
Yeah.
But even then, I was only, like, a minute behind Joe, which I was also aware of in the race. Like, I was aware that it was slow. Like, I got to the rower, and I know that if I get to the rower in about 35 minutes, like, I'm on for, like, a sort of 101.
Yeah.
And it was, like, 35, 36. I was like, okay, it's slow.
Yeah.
So I was like, it's slow, don't worry about the time, it doesn't matter. Like, I don't need to, like, there were some people in that race that need a fast time to stay in the elite, potentially.
Yeah.
And I was not, luckily, in that position.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, relax about the time, stop worrying about it. And I almost raced without my watch, because I was like, realistically, your watch gives you 2 pieces of information.
Yeah.
It gives you time, and it gives you heart rate.
It's not going to speed you up looking at it. Do you know what I mean?
Like, I don't want to know what my heart rate is. Like, I don't want to know. I don't care.
I don't know about you, but it gives me anxiety. Thinking, my heart's got to beat that fast for the next 35 minutes.
Like, there's a time and a place for splits. Obviously, if you're trying to run a fast time, like, you need to know what splits you're on. But your heart rate is a completely irrelevant piece of information in the race, because this is a max effort for a reason.
Yeah.
You're supposed to max out.
Yeah. I start giving myself heart palpitations. I'm like,
but
my heart's beating really fast.
But I saw people, I see people being like, oh, you know, my heart rate hit, like, obviously you don't want a red line,
Yeah.
but it's like, you know, my heart rate hit this in a race. Is that okay? And it's like, yeah, it's a max effort.
Yeah. And that's probably why I enjoy running a marathon, because I'm not going to be going into zone, top
exactly.
end zone 5
Yeah.
for running a marathon, because I will not be able to run the rest of the
Yeah.
race. Whereas, like, I feel
it's
like
an hour, it's the same
HYROX
effort.
is like, an hour.
Like, it's
not for me, but do you know what I mean? Like, it's
like, it's in the range of 10k to half marathon.
Race. Yeah. So you can.
So you can afford to do that. But yeah, like, I don't care about my heart rate.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm sat on my max,
let it get up.
If I have the capacity to sit at my max for an hour, then great.
Yeah. So you finished the race 5th.
Yeah.
Insane. And with a time of
I think it was like 1:03:56.
1:03:56. Still incredible.
Thanks.
Incredible.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I think
got
on
that.
par with my slowest time of the season. But obviously, you can't really.
Again,
it's the grid.
Yeah.
But also in an Elite 15 race, we're racing for position, qualifications, and prize money.
Yeah, that's the thing. And also, like, in the HYROX sport in general, like, if it's a slow course of what they say, like, everyone's time's going to be slower.
Exactly.
Do you know?
That's it as well. We're all under the same conditions.
Yeah,
People always argue, like,
course.
oh, you know, they've got their sandbag, like, at the start of the track, and they could just dump it and leave. You haven't got to put it back in the box or whatever.
Yeah.
But we're racing each other. There are 15 people on that start line racing for positions. It's nice if it's fast, because your time counts for the rankings.
Yeah.
But it doesn't do anything for,
Yeah,
it doesn't matter whether you win in 58 minutes or an hour and 2. Like, you've won the Elite 15 race. You are the best on the day.
Same with any race. Like, again, say a marathon, right? You're going to go run, let's say, Berlin, which is a super flat course, super fast. Like, world records could be broken.
Yeah.
No one's going to, like, beat a world record marathon in, I don't know, say the Lake District or something. Do you know where it's proper hilly? Like, no one's going to do that.
It's the same. It's the same thing with, like, you know, just because you've won one race does not mean you're the best athlete in the world. It means you are the best athlete on the day.
And well done for getting the world champ spot.
Thank you.
That's what you went out for.
It is what I went for.
Yeah. And I was just thinking, actually, right, do you remember in Nice, right, I saw you.
Yeah.
We saw each other in, literally outside the stadium. And I remember, you weren't Elite 15 at that point. But I remember you looking at, we saw outside the thing, they were the Elite 15
Yeah,
thing.
this is so funny as well. Yeah, I know that the exact pillars you're talking about, like, with all their faces and times on.
And you were like,
and you know my mixed, you know my mixed doubles partner from, like, there were 2 Charlies that are both my mixed doubles partners.
Yeah.
But the one I raced worlds with.
Yeah.
He was like, this is going to be you next year.
Yeah.
And I was like,
yeah.
Don't know, it's a goal, but I don't know about it. And it is legit now actually going to be me.
It's going to be you outside, where is it in again? Chicago. Wow.
It's so exciting.
Insane. Chicago is beautiful.
I'm so excited.
It's a beautiful place.
I'm so excited.
That's going to be so fun. And that's coming up in June.
Yeah.
Wow, incredible.
So
and you've got one more race before?
Glasgow is the last remaining Elite 15 race, and then I'll probably race once more.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it's going to be a long gap, and I'll be a bit rusty. And one more.
Yeah. Before you're world champs.
I know.
Insane. Like, to kind of wrap up, so these are going to, like, wrap up my whole podcast with guests and things. So looking back on pretty much, I suppose your whole career, your whole childhood, coming up in the sport, what is one piece of advice that you would give your younger self? Can be at any age. Like, what is one piece of advice you give them?
I think, like, trust your gut and do what makes you happy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there have been so many decisions I've made that on paper have been so questionable and, quote unquote, the wrong decision.
Yeah.
I left uni. I quit my job.
Yeah.
Like, I decided to pursue becoming a professional athlete despite having absolutely no goal of that for most of my life. But it made me happy. And personally, for me, doing what makes me happy, I will pour all my energy into it. I give my training 100% of what I can every day. Same with races. And it's because I love it. When people ask me what's my why for HYROX, it's because I absolutely love it. Like, despite how painful it is, I'm so invested. I love it so much. And that has been me my entire life. If I love something, no matter what that is, whether it's, like, creative, sporty, you know, academic, whatever it is, I've always been that way. And so I think if it makes you happy and you're willing to pour 100% effort, you're always going to succeed. If something badly enough, you will get there. And so I think just not be afraid to take the path that might not be the most obvious.
And is not what people deemed as the correct path.
Like, the correct path might not always be the right one for you.
But if you're passionate about it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If it makes you happy and you want to try hard enough to reach the goal, make the hard decision. I think often they're the best ones to make. They lead you to the places that you actually want to get to. Obviously, there's effort required, but it's worth it, especially if it makes you happy. And, you know, like, doing that has landed me at my dreamy job at 21.
Let me tell you about my career. Insane. No, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
And telling us all about your insane career so far.
Oh, thank you.
I'm wishing you all the best in everything, but also in the World Champs coming up.
Oh,
that is going to be insane.
So excited.
But yeah, thank you so much. And let's wrap up the podcast. I think we're just going to end it there. Let's hope that's recorded.
Woo!
Amazing. Thank you so much, Lucy.
Oh, thank you.